And we're back in surprise. Look at that, as we promised, right on to game one. And as you've noticed, Forsen and Tice have both been frozen in time as their faces are not moving. No, the webcam site had a little bit of a connection issue, so we're just going to have their handsome faces on profile picture. And we'll kick off game one right away. And Tice and Forsen here with Mage and Warlock as their first choices.
Wow, that's like a totally different than we expected. It's pretty cool. It's actually incredible. Like Ty started with his Mech Mage, which I can understand. Like Mech Mage is a deck that can win versus everything. You can have a chance there. So definitely a good start and a fantastic opening with Undertaker, where Forsen is playing a Headlock.
Yeah. So both, we kind of discussed, well, if it's Zoo, it'd be okay with Warrior and whatnot, but then the Warrior doesn't even matter for Tice because he's kicking off with Mage, and it is Mech Mage. Like you mentioned, Mech Mage kind of seems to be that new deck that people are pulling out like they used to Hunter in the beginning. It's like it has a chance against anything. It's pretty aggro. It can go pretty strong, and he's had a very solid start so far. Could start to flood with the coin too here if he wants.
I also like his build already. I mean, probably because he started with Undertaker Mad Scientist, which is a fantastic start, and he has Meg Warper and oh my god, Coin Harvest Golem. This is insane.
Yeah.
Overall, this build is definitely different than what was known before with like only mechs. This is an improved build with Undertaker with Deferral minions, and well, it looks amazing for now.
Yeah, it's looking already very solid. I mean, he has 9 damage on board. 15 already with the Fireball in hand. So there's quite a few ways he can go about this. The Noitron coming in too to maybe just buy him one more turn. Because, in fact, if there's no taunt on the other side, which there isn't right now, a Noitron, if he blocks it for one turn, he would have lethal set up next turn. But it looks like he's going to go just the stronger... Or actually, yeah, he's just going to flood the entire thing.
Yeah, I think he's going... well, he has a couple of choices, like... Playing versus Handlock is always tricky because you can face the Molten Giants. You can face Molten Giant and Shadow Flame and then it's on, or double Molten Giant, which is even worse. But with Fireball and Frostball in hand, I think you can go YOLO face. Like, even if you face those Molten Giants, where you don't even have to, like, Handlock doesn't have to have them. And right now, Forsen doesn't have those... well, he has a Molten Giant, but as you mentioned, he doesn't have a Taunt Giver. He doesn't even have a taunt, he doesn't have a sludge belcher, he has the Hubot, which might save him, but still, he is definitely in trouble right now. And I think we lost Chobra for a moment, so he will be back very soon. So continuing on this, Forsen, 13 points of health, annoying Annoyatron on the board. How do you get through this? Like, you have a Hellfire, but Hellfire doesn't help you to clear the bot. Like, Undertaker is too big. There's still like 2 Defralo minions. So even like this is the worst Hellfire board I've seen in a while. He can use the silence. He really needs to like protect himself and clear the board. He doesn't need to heal himself, but then there's 9 points of damage. Fortunate for Forsen, Tice won't be able to play both spells on the same turn. Well, but he will be able to play a Fireball, so this game is over and Tice is taking a 1-0 lead versus Forsen. Forsen losing his Handlock, which is a very important deck. Handlock is a fantastic deck versus Warrior. Overall, a great deck versus... well, he banned Hunter, so Hunter... like, this was one of the reasons he banned Hunter as well. Because Handlock is weak to Hunter, but right now he lost his Handlock, so what is he going to take versus Mech Mage? Mech Mage proves to be very difficult. It might be tough versus Warrior. And versus Hunter, again, those Annoyatrons and Undertakers, it's kind of like a... it's not even a coin flip. I think this build has an advantage and has an edge versus Hunter. So he is left with his Mage and going for a 50-50 for a mirror match. Definitely a tough choice. I think Warrior or Mage... well, he can take anything, but Hunter is dangerous with Annoyatrons. Like, you can get stomped, and if this Mage has a very good opening, you're just behind. You can't do anything. It also depends what kind of Hunter build Forsen has. If he has like a super fast Hunter with charge minions, or a more mid-range, or maybe a control. Well, Forsen is also a good deck builder, so he can play something unexpected. Then his mage deck, I don't know, guys. I'm not sure what kind of mage deck Forsen is playing, but I'm sure I hope this is something surprising. And I think Chobra is actually back. So
I'm
welcome back.
back. I know. I missed it in that last second, but I can clearly tell what happened. It was fairly clear when I dropped right there. Geez, we're just having all sorts of tech issues. But what would an esports event be without tech issues? Aren't I right, Gnimsh?
It's something
Every
you
esports
get
event.
definitely something you get used to. All right, so you missed the win, and you know what's happening. Thijs is now opening again with the mage because the winning deck stays, and Forsen decided to take his warrior.
Looks like it. And yeah, I mean that previous opening was pretty it was pretty disgusting, let's be honest, from Ty. So it's gonna be a little bit slower this time around, but
Well, hopefully this will not be a 4-0 sweep, and we'll actually see some more action and back and forth in the matchups.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we had the sweep last time. One sweep every 5 weeks, I'm okay with that. We don't need to have one every week. So
all right, so for Thijs, this is Forsen's turn, I believe. Or do we have wait?
I actually think it might be Tice's turn, because Tice's character is the one saying what to do.
No, it's like Forsen.
But then it's it should
Forsen
be for
doing
it.
stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. there seems to be a slight bug in the observer mode right now.
Seems like a technical issue to me, actually, because Thijs's cards are like not in the middle, so it seems like he can't.
Oh yeah.
One card is like.
Oh wow, yeah. We might have to reboot that up if the game is bugged like that. But can you guess what that card is? Because can't we see, or do we just see the card back? Because it looks like we can see. I'm gonna guess it's the Annoyatron. That's just my bet.
Well, he didn't have a coin, but this is like his turn 2, so interesting.
Looks like actually it might be it might be a graphical glitch on the observing end. I want to say so.
It's possible that the game is actually running.
Yeah, the game I think is going okay considering the mana costs are changing, so we should be able to join right back in. But the mech mage, as you mentioned, slightly tweaked, and nothing can go wrong with adding an Undertaker and keeping the death rattles, right? I mean, who would have thought Undertaker would make a deck stronger? I mean, geez, Hunter didn't get that right. So we have the mage there, and then warrior. How do you feel about that matchup? Kind of like 50-50, or?
I think it's like I would give an edge to mage, actually, because if it really depends on the opening again, but if you have this kind of board, you can just snowball, and if there is no brawl, warrior would not have a way to counter this. And as we can see right now, well, Thijs is snowballing again, and if you're snowballing like this, you don't even need to draw cards.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. I mean, he can literally play anything he wants anytime he top decks at this point because of the 2 mech warpers. You can see the Sky Golem's only 4 mana now. We did have that Annoyatron come down. Looks like all the graphical settings are cleared.
It's one of the advantages of playing an aggro deck, because as aggro deck you do ask the questions. Like, you have your pretty clear and easy setup. You want to play those minions, and then you're like, okay, do you have an answer to this board? And control is like, if the control has an answer, if he was actually able to draw into the answer, then maybe he will win. But if he doesn't, he just loses right there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the part that some people complain about with aggro, right? With zoo type decks, where they're like, well, it's so easy, you just play whatever you get and you just flood the board and you ask the question. And to some extent it's true. I mean, still sometimes obviously what you play on turn 1 and 2 actually could make a big difference, depending on how you want to snowball it. But this time around we're not really seeing that issue here.
I'm really curious of what secrets is Thijs running in his deck, because we see Mad Scientist, but we haven't seen the secrets yet.
Very true. But for now, we'll see if we have a chance to see the secrets at all as he clears that Sludge Belcher.
Taskmaster is something that's decent. When I see a 2/2, I'm like, okay, because there are so many weird minions you can get from your Pilot to Shredder. getting a Lord Walker Joe or a Doomsayer. Like
Yeah.
Doomsayer in this situation would be devastating.
I've definitely had times where Mana Wraith also sometimes ruins your play because you're like, well, I'll see what I get first, and then you play it, and then you get Mana Wraith, and you can't play any of your minions now. You're like, oh shoot, like.
Yeah, that happens as well.
Yeah, I like what he did though. Not using his Mech Warper, just sacrificing the Clockwork Gnome. That way, the Mech Warpers aren't susceptible to an execute, so he can still put down mechs at a very low cost.
So another minion is a 4/1 mage. Wait, how much damage is this? This is 11.
Yeah, I mean that's 11, 12. It's 12 with the hero power.
Yeah, Forsen was like well played because if there was a fireball, that game would be over right there. Forsen definitely in a bind. Like no brawl is proving to be difficult, and also like he doesn't have any kind of removal here, like an AoE removal. No whirlwinds.
Yeah, and just more minions coming down that way, and the Chugga's out on the board now too. So weapons don't have much hope, let alone not much health to use a weapon at all. Oh well.
Yeah, he can't even destroy the weapon. So this 4/1 mage proves to be on a similar level to like Milhouse's Mana Storm. Basically a 4-attack minion, because you know even if it has 1 health, it still does like 4 damage every turn.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's gonna be able to clear that, but it's gonna be plenty of damage on board. So he just chooses death, and that's a 2-0 lead for the Mech Mage.
That's a pretty strong start. I mean, killing 2 control decks that are supposed to like they're built to counter aggro decks. Like Warrior is one of the best decks to counter aggro, and then Handlock.
Right.
Handlock is pretty good versus control actually. In a control versus control greedy matchups, Handlock is pretty good. But it can win versus aggro, especially with Molten Giants and new Healbot. But then Thijs is getting the strong lead, and I don't know. I think like Forsen is still like Mage and Hunter left. He might go like Hunter. He didn't want to take Hunter because of Annihilatrons. Like if you get locked by Annihilatrons and whoever gets like a faster opening is in a better position. But then Annihilatrons they come in and you're in trouble as a Hunter. So that's why he didn't take it. But right now, what kind of mage is he playing? Maybe he's playing like Forsen loves control. So with this Warrior Handlock, maybe this mage is actually a mill mage, like mill fatigue mage kind of.
Maybe. I mean, that's all the rage these days anyway, right? I mean, everyone's on the hype train about the mill mage, the fatigue mage. So we'll see. I mean, at the same time, no matter which mage it is and then which hunter it is, again, we kind of talked about in the beginning, both mage and hunter these days, they're the classes that have a good bet against any other class in tournament formats. So Forsen's still not out of it yet, only down 2-0. There's still plenty of room for him to come back against Thijs, whereas Thijs is sitting comfortably with his mech mage still in hand from that first set.
The scary part is Thijs still has his Warrior and Druid ready if this mage falls down, but with Undertaker openings, I don't think it's going to fall down quickly.
Yeah, and Forsen actually going with Hunter now, so keeping his mage as his last card, his hidden card there for the best of 7. We'll see if we get a chance to check that out, but for now, trying to counter aggro with a little bit of more aggro from him.
Well, we got some information here. It's actually pretty important because like Forsen is playing a high main version, so not the super aggressive one. This definitely has a chance versus mage, where Thijs actually got a fantastic opening. He got a coin, and also an interesting fact is that Forsen is playing the Clockwork Gnome, probably instead of Leper Gnome. It's like I've seen many players actually switch from Leper Gnome to Clockwork because it gives you a spare part that can be very useful in different ways.
Very true. I mean, the Leper Gnome, the 2 damage, guaranteed 2 damage is pretty nice, but at the same time, sometimes you just need a little bit more of a wild card coming your way.
Most spare parts, they actually give you the 2 damage as well. Like, if you can swap
exactly.
That's, yeah. Alright, so what is the comeback mechanisms that Forsen can use to regain his board? He doesn't have, like, one of the best comeback mechanisms in this matchup is Explosive Trap or Unleash the Hounds. Forsen has neither, so he might be forced to either play, it's Freezing Trap or Haunted Creeper. With Freezing Trap, he's not doing much. He's like only stalling where he doesn't have a follow-up. With Haunted Creeper, I feel like he is developing some board and will be able to trade with minions at least.
Yeah. Now, if he puts the creeper down, though, what does Forsen choose to trade his Clockwork Gnome into? Or maybe he just doesn't. We'll see,
I
though.
think
But
you
with
can,
the Mage's Hero Power, you should trade into at least one of them, right? All right, just trade the Gnome for Gnome.
yeah, I think it's fine. Like, you hope that there is no defrauded minion from the mage, and then you hope you top deck Juggler, or maybe you'll be just forced to use your kill command on the minion. You still have like +1 attack from the spare part, so it's good.
It's true. Oh, yeah, and he does have the kill command, so that will be 5 damage anyway with the creeper on the board. So he has a chance to get rid of that, but gets the Owl, as we just saw. So that's going to be a simpler trade right there. That was
Yeah,
a very nice turn for Forsen.
Definitely, that's a very powerful turn. It is kind of like a swing. He was lucky with the +1 attack, so he was able to turn around the situation on the board. This game can really go either way. I feel like we'll see a lot of back and forth. Still, I think Thijs's hand is much stronger than Forsen's.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely still has just minions that he can play again and again the next turns. The Tinker Talon and the Pilot Shredder on turn 4 is going to be pretty solid, especially for us as we see Forsen's hand. There's not really an immediate answer to that other than the kill command. And even this turn, right, it's iffy, because if you put the Undertaker out, but you can't follow through with it anyway, and both minions have 2 attack, and if you kill the Creeper, like, it's just going to spawn 2 1/1s, and it will be a total of 2 attack anyway. But he's still going to put that out there, and, you know, if he can stall a little bit, that's still a win for him, because he has the Shredder next turn.
So Thijs is going for the secret, which is also very important, because the turn 4 is like piloted Shredder turn. So if there will be like no web spinner, this could be a very popular entity.
And the mirror entity really helps out buffing up the Undertaker, so that's gonna live. That's a bit of a bummer right there for Forsen.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. And but I don't think you could actually attack first. Like you want to check for the secret, and then if this would be mirror entity, then imagine like not that like mirror entity, like duplicates. Imagine those Undertakers.
Yeah, I guess the mirror entity is better than duplicate. But it feels bad, right? If you have to use the kill command right now, just get rid of the 2/3 in fear of it growing, which it probably will. Forsen has to assume that, so he's still gonna get rid of that, and then just clear and keep the board.
Forsen is definitely disappointed because he doesn't have a turn 5 play. So his hope is that he either top decks something or gets something from the web spinner.
Well, there's a pretty good chance he'll get something to play from the web spinner. And he gets an Undertaker too.
Freezing Trap will be amazing here because it's basically canceling turn 4 from Thijs. But then again, Thijs has ways to deal with this. Forsen has the high main, but Thijs will have the silence and the fireball. So here, like Blast Mage might be amazing, just clearing the board. Just playing. Yeah, see what you hit. See what you hit. King Makla, whoa!
Wow. Well, there's something to play, but maybe not so hot right now. And he does clear the 2 1/1s. The Undertaker still lives though, so that's a little bit of a annoyance. And Thijs just putting things down, assuming
you can pass. Yeah, you just pass because it seemed like it's freezing trap. Like
right.
Oh my god, another high main. That's really strong for Forsen. What's amazing is that Forsen was able, like, it seemed he had a very bad hand, and he was able to just keep the game till turn 6. He is in a good situation with like freezing trap. He plays that high main, and then he follows up with another high main, and this can just single-handedly win him the game. Where it seemed like Thijs had advantage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Thijs kind of contemplating. He's fairly certain now that it is freezing trap, especially with the clear there from Forsen. So he chooses to send the Blast Mage back. I think that's pretty solid. You know, it has an immediate impact when it's played, so play it again in a later turn if you have a mech.
By the way, there is another fantastic thing for Thijs. He has a spare part that is will help him to return the Iron Peak out to his hand. So he will play high main.
That's unfortunate for Forsen. I mean, the second high main sounded so nice when it came out, but You're not gonna see that.
This is just crazy. He can just attack for 2, return the owl, play the owl. That's he still has 4 mana, so he pings the high main, attacks with Pilot the Shredder, and then he can still develop like a Neutron.
That's really solid.
He can also, because he is like full health right now, almost full health at 25, he can opt to go for face and start racing against this one high main. But I think he realizes that clearing the high main here is more, like, has more potential, especially with full hand.
Yeah, I mean, also you just have the opportunity to get rid of the 2 like most powerful cards. People would argue for Hunter, so why not? But he's just gonna choose to race, it seems, with the Neutron down.
Well, a Neutron is super powerful, and it's definitely stopping this high main. If Forsen, like, Thijs is making a gamble that Forsen doesn't have something like Unleash the Hounds right now, and also like he is really safe. Like he is the one dictating tempo and dictating the pace of this match. If Forsen, even if Forsen gets Unleash the Hounds, he'll have to just start clearing with the high main, not to die. Like,
yeah,
Thijs is the one winning the game right now.
He puts the Lithip and the King Mukla, just putting down 2 big bodies on the board. Gets rid of the Divine Shield, knows that the Doom is coming. He saw the Iron Beak will get sent back to hand by Thijs. Now, of course, now the bananas are also all 6 mana, so that's pretty solid, you know, the Lothip combo with King Mukla. But still plenty to be done here by Thijs.
That's a very interesting board. So Thijs going, all right, Pilot Shredder, bringing a solid minion, not a Doomsayer.
Yeah, and it's 2/3, better than a 2/2 also. Can't really complain from the Shredder. Yeah, so I was thinking, you know, it's either Mechanical Yeti, Hero Power, or even the Blast Mage here, if you wanted. But it looks like he's just going to go for the guarantee.
It's a very interesting line of play. Like, Thijs, instead of rushing, he chooses to just go the safe route because he has such an advantage and a great hand. He starts clearing minions and putting himself in a position where he wants to use the advantage of his hand and then win. And it's a good line of play because Forsen doesn't have any cards and Thijs still has like a full health. So even if Forsen is able to deal a bit of damage, Thijs should win this board. And when he wins the board, he wins the game in the next turn.
Absolutely. And yeah, with the Blast Mage coming out again, should be able to clear both of them now, it seems. Now that he's hit evenly on both minions. So he doesn't even need to use the bananas. Clear Mukla.
He can stealth the Blast Mage as well. Just go for face, deal as much damage as possible, and protect the Blast Mage from the Piloted Shredder.
Sounds really solid. 6 damage to face.
That's really solid. Also, like, Blast Mage is lethal next turn with the ping, even if Forsen is able to clear whatever's left.
Yep. So as we see the last card drawn for Forsen, it's a Mad Scientist, and we're not really seeing much hope here. Even with a taunt, it wouldn't have really gotten anything for Forsen. So Forsen goes down again to the same mage deck, 3-0. I don't know, Gnimsh. It's looking like a little bit of a repeat from last week, except now it's mage instead of hunter that's going for the sweep.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, we've seen Thijs having really good opening hands with Undertakers and Death Rattles, but on the other hand, like, this deck is built in a way so that you don't open with Ragnaros and Antonidas and Molten Giants. Basically, you try to like mulligan smartly and always get those really aggressive openings, and it works for Thijs. I mean, like, this deck seems really stable, and it works, and it's a very powerful deck. You can stop it obviously, but for this show match, Forsen is having trouble. He is down to his last deck, which is Mage. I don't think it's a Mech Mage. I will be opting this is some kind of a control mill mage, and maybe this will be enough, like, for Forsen. Like, Forsen has shown us some fortitude before, so maybe he will actually be able to take the series with this mage, but he is in trouble.
Oh yeah, definitely a little bit of trouble. But as you mentioned, Forsen also, I mean, Forsen known to kind of just have fun with his decks and whatnot, and Mill Mage is all the rage these days, and we're already seeing an Alexstrasza in hand for Forsen. So
This seems like a control mage with Ice Barrier and Ice Lance, Alex
yeah,
Straza, Scientist. Seems like he just wants to stall Alex Straza, your opponent, when you have Ice Block, and then just win.
yeah, Frost Nova, Frostbolt, all the freezing spells that Jaina has in her arsenal in Hearthstone coming out for Forsen right now. And we see the mulligans going through as Undertaker comes out once again for Tice, trying to get that sweep.
This time he didn't get any other defrauded minions. He can still top deck one, and he doesn't. So now he needs to decide what to do. If he wants to develop the minion or maybe Frostbolt. Tice still doesn't know which mage is he playing against. Mid Scientist is popular in actually in any build. Like I would say, Mech Mage didn't have Scientist, but apparently now it has. So
yeah,
you can play Scientist in any mage deck.
very true. It's definitely hard to tell, and this is what we talked about, right? With mage, it takes a turn or two more than it does with certain other classes to try to figure out what's going on. And he wants to keep his Undertaker alive, also not risk anything here. He'll get to check the secret once. Power Blast coming in hand for Forsen, not going to be useful for a long time.
I haven't seen Pyroblast in a while. I'm really happy that it's back in the meta game. Let's say.
It's definitely exciting to see it. And then again, Frostbolt from the other side too, though, just to keep the board clean and tidy.
Well, for Tice, it's like he does what he does best, just plays minions and curve. Undertaker died, but it's fine. Like, it wasn't that necessary for Tice, and right now with this opening, he is fine. But he will be top decking. Like, he doesn't have any cards, so whatever he can draw is good for him. But playing versus Control Mage, you also might think about not overextending too much. But with Fireball in hand, he is safe from Doomsayer, so probably he can go for like face as with a pretty simple strategy. Just attack with your minions, try to get Mage as low as possible. But then again, like Forsen can play Molten Giants, so how low do you get Forsen? Because if you face Molten Giants in the heal bot and then Eco of Medivh, like turn 5 or 6, you will be in trouble for sure.
That's true, yeah. I mean, at this point, you do have to start calculating that health total, because those Molten Giants, it's not just the hand locks that you have to watch out for them, rather. And so Forsen, especially with his secret Ice Bearer being up there, he feels pretty comfortable just filling his hand, right? And he's got quite a few spells to really ramp him up to that end of the game.
On the other hand, Forsen doesn't have that much removal. He has the Frost Nova, that's fine, but he will have to survive till turn 7 to be able to cast a proper Flame Strike, where Tice needs to accumulate removal. I'm not sure if there is a good way for Tice to go through Ice Block, but if he is able to get Forsen to 1, and then Forsen plays Ice Block, it will be really easy to remove it. So that will be Tice's plan.
So, I mean, he should be able to calculate it fairly well here, especially using Hero Power in that last moment to bring him down just to 1, guarantee the lethal next turn. Now we do see another Ice Block though in hand for Forsen, so he can just press that emergency red button one last turn and try to survive if need be. And we're pretty close to turn 7, as you mentioned.
With the spare part, Tice can also generate another spare part by returning one of the minions to hand. Or can just save the minion from... I mean, like, he can return Think Master Technician and then just get another spare part. Or he can basically save a minion from Flame Strike, where just, if he doesn't draw into anything specific.
Yeah, that's actually really true. Now with the Frost Nova, he's not going to get free for damage there, but maybe you bring it back. Ooh.
Sky Golem. Sky Golem is interesting because when Forsen casts Flame Strike, Sky Golem is producing a minion that will be able to deal damage.
The very next turn. So, I mean, I think you definitely play it, even if you know the Flame Strike's probably coming. I mean, again, like you mentioned, that's what the Death Vow is for, right? If you try to play around that with the Sky Golem, you're playing a little bit too slow, so...
Oh man, he gets a Doomsayer, which is 1 turn too late. And Tice knows that there was no Doomsayer because he plays Loot Hoarder. That was
Oh
side of
man.
for sure, you know. Doomsayer could just clear the board. And right now there's like no point in playing the Doomsayer. You just need to survive till turn 7 to have that Flame Strike.
Yeah.
You can think about fireballing Pilot Shredder to be able to like prepare the board for a Flame Strike.
Yeah, and it'll it's gonna decrease the damage quite a bit too, given that it's gonna be a 4-drop coming out. Not gonna see that crazy damage coming out.
He's thinking about Doomsayer because if he plays Doomsayer, it tanks 7 damage at least. So there's some kind of guarantee that that the board will be cleared, or at least 7 points of damage is getting into Doomsayer. So then the Ice Block will not get popped. But can Thijs pop the Ice Block right now? I think he can. It's like 10, 14, 16 points of damage. So he can easily get forced into 1.
Yeah.
1 health.
In fact, he can pop it if he uses the Whirling Blaze, right? And then he can just use the Hero Power the turn after. Right, like Hero Power both turns plus Whirling Blaze this turn.
Yeah, that's basically the trick. Look, you just get the mage to 1, and then you save one of the minions from the Flame Strike, just in case.
Sounds like a plan. And my screen seems to be frozen here on that turn, but there we go. We do see that going through for me too. I just caught up. So Forsen, yeah, he's gonna have to play that Ice Block again.
And that's the second Ice Block, so right now Forsen is definitely in trouble. He needs to draw into Alexstrasza. Can Forsen actually get his signature move and get Alexstrasza and win the game after that? I highly doubt it. It will be tough. I mean, he has a loot harder, so he will have an extra draw.
Yeah, but it's also turn 8, right? So
yeah, he won't be able to play it
here.
He needs a heal bot. Like, he's dead to a ping, and that's it.
The heal bot could come through. You're right.
Oh my god, I think Forsen is dead.
I think so. I think that's just the answer right there. Because, yeah, the ping is what you need to block, and yeah, he's just gonna freeze himself. And that is game. Oh, man.
That's a tough loss against Mech Mage.
It is. You know, to some degree, obviously the credit goes to the slightly tweaked deck with the Mad Scientists and the Mech Warpers and the Undertakers there coming out from Thijs. But at some point, as the opponent, you're like, man, you had like a really solid turn 1 and 2 play every game, right? He either had the Undertaker plus a Death Rattle or a Mech Warper plus another mech. So, you know, part of it, that is the nature of deck building, right? You either increase the chances of your early game plays, and Thijs did that well, and so he takes the 4-0 Gnimsh with Mech Mage. Last week it was Hunter, this week it's Mage.
Well, what can I say, Chobra? Like, I come casting and everybody wins 4-0, so next week we are going to see a 4-0 with, let's say, Rogue. That's my prediction.
That'd be pretty fun to watch, actually. If just from now on it's all sweeps since you've joined the cast here for Deck Wars. But we're gonna take a quick break and we'll get to talk to Thijs himself about his 4-0 sweep against Forsen. So we'll be right back with a winner interview. Welcome back, everyone. Chobra here with Gnimsh for Deck Wars, and we just wrapped up week 6 of Deck Wars with yet another 4-0 sweep, and the winner we have on call with us is Thijs. Congratulations, Thijs.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, you know, we were just chatting before we kicked off the interview here, but about, again, how we don't have too much to talk about because it was a 4-0 sweep again, so we only really got to see one deck, but, you know, we talked a little bit about it, right? And even in the match right now, we saw it's slightly tweaked. It's not the Mech Mage we saw from Kibler and then Strife Crow. It seems a little bit different. But how do you feel about your deck? I mean, obviously you won, but is that kind of what you expected with your deck list?
I didn't expect that my Mech Mage will do this good. It is a deck that can, if it has like a really good start, it can really snowball and it can win every matchup. doesn't really have a bad matchup. Like people think that Warrior is maybe bad, but Warrior is like one of the better matchups for this mech deck. And yeah, it's not a like a really I don't really like the aggressive mech decks that are out now with the like with the Kochmaster and these cards. And I just put it in some more late game cards like Doctor Boom and Antonidas to have some better synergy if the game goes a bit longer.
Oh wait, so you had some end game. We haven't seen that. I even said that you just
You saw the Sky Golem, right? One or two times.
yeah, but
okay, fine. Yeah, we saw the Sky Golem, but yeah, we I know Gnimsh was talking about how you don't seem to be running the Antonidas, so that's allowing you to just really
No,
pull into
yeah,
the
the
earlier
Antonidas is
portion.
also in this deck, and it is like I had really good starts, but sometimes if you have a bit slower start, the Antonidas is so good with the spare parts. I think it's like a key card in this deck for the control matchups.
Oh, right on.
Can you tell me more about like your decision in deck building? Because we've seen like this mech mage, the original mech mage by Kibler, and then a Strife Claw with only Max and Cogmasters. Then we've seen versions with Mana Worm and like a couple of more spells to use like to abuse the spare parts. Can you tell us more about like why Undertaker and the Feral Minions? How many secrets are you running with the Mad Scientists? Are you getting the value there?
Yeah, well, because there are also a lot of the mechs, like the Yeti, the Shredder, the Golem, they all have Death Rattle, so it's a really good to, and also just a Clockwork Gnome, what is a 1-drop. That is just why Undertaker is really has already a lot of cards that help that stacks, and with the Mad Scientist, just to get a free secret out of on the board, it's it's just really good.
Right
Are you
on.
having any draw issues? Like, are you running Arcane Intellect, or are you just yellowing whatever you draw into? You just play it out and it works.
No, I don't. I run like Acid Drake in the deck, so I have a bit of a card draw, but not much. It's like yeah, you have to draw into a good curve, and that is what I did in these games by drawing into the early cards and getting like the Yeti, a Shredder, or the Sky Golem later. But this deck normally doesn't want to go longer than turn 7, turn 8.
Right on. I mean, like you mentioned, you have some backup, but the goal still is to try to wrap things up in the early to mid portion of the game, and we saw that. We saw that today. And I like you mentioned. We were joking about right. It's the new Hunter, and you just mentioned kind of exactly why, because we're seeing that like triple synergy with Undertaker and Max, and then Death Rattles. Do you think it's just as consistent as everyone thought Hunter was for a while, and this can really start to take on like different variations of Mech Mage can really start to take on as a norm for tournament play.
Yeah, I think it is for sure, and I think it already is. But this
True.
deck is
Yeah.
the deck is just not that. It's just not the same as the Hunter. The Hunter is way more aggressive. This deck wins more by board control. I think you can more look at it as a zoo deck. I think you can compare it more to Lava because board control is really important with this deck. You are never going face when there are still a lot of minions on the board. You trade everything really efficiency. But yeah, it's a really cool and also aggressive deck.
Can you tell me more about your strategy for banning? Because you didn't ban Hunter, you didn't ban Warlock, you did ban the Druid deck. So can you tell us more about that? What was your strategy coming into the bans and picks, and why Druid, and what kind of builds did you have?
The ban was more because I wasn't worried about the other classes that Forsen played, and like if he played like a paladin or something, I will maybe a bit more worried and would ban the paladin, or maybe I was considering also banning the hunter just because hunter can. My lineup is okay against hunter, but it's still hunter, so sometimes then I just want to ban it. But yeah, the strategy that I had was here just banning druids because my lineup was just not really good against druids, and I was not really sure what for a version he played for a druid, and yeah, if he plays with like a Kel'Thuzad, I didn't want to face that again, so I just wanted to ban it.
Sounds good. Just process of elimination on, well, everything else seems comfortable. Seems to be a good way to go here for your match. And you got the 4-0. So once again, congratulations. And do you have any shout outs you want to give out for your victory here this week on Deck Wars?
Well, shout outs to my new team, Nihilem. I joined this month with Radu. I was already with him in MIM for a long time, and now we are together again in Nihilem. Uh, Life coach and Lothar. They also helped me really well with preparing decks, and we practice a lot. So big shout out to them.
Sounds good. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Really happy to hear about Team Nihalem doing well so far, and you guys getting together to form a new team. So once again, congratulations. That's it for week 6 of Deck Wars with Chobra and Gnimsh. Another 4-0 sweep, this time to Thijs with the Mech Mage, some slight variations. Also, before we head out here, I have some slightly unfortunate news for our viewers here on Machinima that we won't have Tabletop or Turn 2 today. We had some just issue with scheduling. A lot of these players were busy this week, so we weren't able to lock anyone down. So we won't be having Tabletop or Turn 2. All 3 shows will be returning same time next week. So be sure to tune in to another best of 7 here on Machinima. That's it for us here this week on Deck Wars. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.